Sure,
Um,
sure.
I want you to tell our audience the story that you told me about how you use AI to help your daughter with a particular predicament she was in about a month ago.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So my daughter, she's in college. She's on her last year here, and I rent a little rental house out in an HOA neighborhood for her to kind of stay in there,
Yeah.
co-signed on it with her,
Yeah.
and everything had been good. Yeah, I knew the property management company was not great with it, that kind of thing. But she went to get her move out. The property management company was sold. It was sold to a different property management company in December, and her move out was in February. So in January we start getting ready for this, kind of getting the move out documents. They send us a bill for a little over $6,000 in HOA fees.
Yeah.
To where I'd found out that the previous property management company, I guess the HOA had gotten a spat with them over the grass type not being zoysia or Bermuda grass. It was just basically weeds in the yard,
Sure.
kind of concept there. Just basically, it was mud and moss was what that yard was.
Yeah.
Well, that HOA, the previous management company, never responded back to the HOA. So the HOAs just simply started levying a $50 bill for every day that they didn't respond.
Yep.
Well, a few months later, that's thousands of dollars that they have ran up in the bill, which is interesting that they could even legally do that to begin with. Just, oh yeah, I'm gonna start charging you $50 a day. But sure enough, it's in the contracts. They were in their legal right to do that. My daughter called me in tears, crying, I don't have the money for this. What's going on? Why am I having to pay for this? So I thought this was going to be a simple phone call to the new property management company going, hey, there's been some kind of mistake here.
Yeah.
I get on the call on a recorded line and I'm like, you sent a bill for $6,000 to my daughter, who's a poor college kid, just trying to get through this.
Yeah.
And you're saying she needs to resod the yard because it's not the proper grass type simply because she rented this house. And the woman on the other line was like, yeah, that's how the contract works. Nonchalantly, cold as day. And there was something clicked inside me at that moment. That was where I was like, all right, I'm going to win this fight. This is not the way this works.
Yeah.
That's my social justice warrior kicked in, because the coldness, the brassness of this property management company, they set me off in what it was. So, and this was when we had just started our AI journey, started working with AI, and I'd learned to feed documents in, and I'd learned deep research, and I knew how to point the models at certain sites and ground them with information. So I had us ingest the subdivision's HOA documents, the history that I had. I got access to the HOA property management accounts page, since they weren't managing it. The HOA manager sent me a link since I was over the house.
Yeah.
I pointed it at the AI and grounded it with that document source.
Yeah.
I took and fed in the original contract document that the property management company had with leasing terms in there.
Yeah.
All this data I fed into the AI, and I started a battle with them. That was absolutely, I picked their document apart, showed them every place in their document where the contract had showed that if there was a problem with the yard, they were supposed to engage a third party. If there was, no modifications to the landscaping could be made. All of this document I was compiling, all of the data that I had kind of put together around their points in failure, sent this over, had it produce a cease and desist letter for me.
Yeah.
Printed out this cease and desist letter, sent it by certified mail out to Oklahoma to their home company. Yeah. I did the deep research on the previous property owner, on the HPC company, the holding company that owned the property, because it wasn't an individual, it was investor-owned properties that was managed by a third-party management company. I showed them who the investor was, how many times those investors had been sued, how many times they had lost in court, how many times they won in court. I had every bit of this data on the history of this property, who owned it, where it was traded, how many times it had. I looked across the geo maps from the Google Maps across the different years. I could pull up, here's what the grass color was at this type of day. Here's what it was at this point in time. All of this information I compiled. And I sent them a slew of emails around this, right? Thinking, oh, we're going to be done with this. Here's this big bank of evidence. No, couple of weeks. It was like middle of February, early to mid February. I get the court case saying, because there's a $6,000 hold on from the HOA dispute, they're not letting my daughter pay her rent because you can't make partial payments. So she couldn't pay the $2,000 a month rent for the property without paying the $6,000 charge ahead of time.
Yeah.
So then they started eviction proceedings to evict my daughter. Yeah. So I learned, so I have my case over here on the wall where I want it. So I went back to GPT. I started vetting all the documents that I needed to support to the claims court, how to file the claim, produced all of this. Then I vetted one of my buddies who's general counsel. He's a general counsel. So I kind of vetted it with him and said, hey, here's what I'm about to do. Am I doing this right? He's like, yeah, you're spot on. You've got your entire case laid out.
Yeah.
With all the data, with all the evidence, with all the combinations. Even in requesting them, I'd requested 2 years worth of phone recordings from them. Got those the proper way, certified through the judge. Just that alone, submitted that all of this evidence up to the magistrate court here in Cobb County. A week later, it was dismissed. They're like, nah, we don't want to mess with this guy. They threw it completely out, got back on the win there. They couldn't produce the recordings. They couldn't produce half the documents I was asking for. I basically do what they did. I asked for them for so much information that I made their life so hard that they just gave up. They were like, all right, we're not going to fight this in court.
Not worth it.
Yeah. Did the move out inspection. They said, you know what? We're not going to bother with a move out inspection. Their answer was just please leave. Just go before we have to fight with anymore.
So the amazing thing out of this is you literally became your daughter's attorney.
Yes. This would have cost me thousands for the attorney. Yeah, that would have been thousands. And GPT was able to draw up all the documents, all the case. It was able to cite cases against that previous property management company where they were sued. I had a folder of evidence ready to go for them. I still have a case pending where, because in the original cease and desist that I sent out, I told them that any information requests submitted by them would be cost them per diem at $400 an hour. I've still got an $1,800 case going against them where I'm countersuing them for my time because I had sent that cease and desist over electronic mail, which I didn't realize that was actually accredited.
Yeah.
But because I had charged them $400 for my hours and because they forced me to produce the evidence saying that the previous property management company was the one who was in fault.
Yeah.
Now they owe me $1,800 for my time because I had told them. They requested that information of me, of my time, and I'd already made them known my rate for my time.
Yep.
So now we'll get to go. Now in September we'll go back to court again, and I'm gonna see if they owe me $1,800.
So I think every one of the people who hear this will probably say, "Hey, man, give me all your prompts that you did to figure this out." You've just figured out your side hustle. You're a part-time lawyer.
Yeah. If you want cheap legal services, I can't guarantee it's great, but it's decent.
It's awesome that there's a part of me where I wanted you to tell this story because part of the reason why, we're doing this is, because of the growing inequality of our society, right? It's just feels when the regular person can stick it to the big brother or the man or whatever you want to call it. It's just they have so much power that corporations have so much power they lord over the individual right now.
All the legal power sits with them because it is very confusing. If I had to read the legal code and figure out the history of these cases and all this, I would have taken a team of researchers to do that.
Yeah. And the fact
for me, a little bit of deep research and I was done.
Yeah. And the lovely thing is, like, the best part of it was your general counsel friend who's like, yeah, this all looks good.
I did. That was the confidence thing in me and knowing I was doing it right. I did have a person to lean into that I could just bounce and go, hey, I just snap him some pictures across and go, hey, does this look right? Am I doing anything wrong? Am I doing anything crazy? That kind of thing. He did talk me off the ledge of trying to sue them for more when I was mad at them, that you can't use the law as your your pocketbook kind of thing. You actually have to have some kind of recourse and show that there was some injustice done, that kind of stuff. You can't just sue them for $10,000 because you want to sue them for $10,000, that kind of stuff. So he did explain a little bit of that to me, but other than that, it was a cakewalk to go through. It really wasn't as scary and painful as it was. And the beautiful thing about AI is because it's kind of back and forth when you're discussing. Yeah. You can ask questions, and it's going to ask you, hey, would you like me to do this? Would you like me to draw up this document for you? Yeah. Would you like me to edit this? So you just kind of edit it as you go. It's the same thing as I remember from my divorce, sitting with the attorney, and they would ask me questions, type some things out, make a change, and then we go to the next question. They played 20 questions with me to get the final outcome.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. GPT was playing 20 questions with me to get to the final outcome, and that was what we came up with, was this document, this case. Yep. It's the same thing.
Yep. So I love that story. I'm glad you have a chance to share it, and hopefully more people will hear it and kind of feel empowered and emboldened by that.